Hello and welcome to the English Doctor Podcast. Words fade without emotion. Let's face something most learners never question. You're not forgetting English words because you're bad at memory. You're forgetting them because they meant nothing to you. Think about how you usually learn a new word. You read it. You check the meaning. Maybe you repeat it once or twice. It feels productive. Feels like you're learning. But in reality, you're just passing information through your brain. Nothing stays because your brain doesn't hold on to words just because you saw them. It holds on to words because they matter. Emotion is the glue of memory. It's what turns something temporary into something permanent. Think about your own life. You don't forget moments that made you feel something. A time you felt proud. A time you felt excited or nervous. Those moments stay with you, not because you tried to, but because you felt them. Now ask yourself, when you learn a new English word, do you feel anything? Or is it just another item on a list? That's the problem. You're learning words like a machine, but your brain is not a machine. It's human. It needs meaning, it needs connection. Let's take a simple word, excited. You can read the definition. Feeling very happy and enthusiastic. You understand it, but will you remember it? Maybe not. Now change the approach. Think about the last time you felt excited. Maybe it was your first video upload, your first success, your first opportunity. Now say, I am excited. Suddenly, the word is not just a word anymore. It's a feeling. It's a memory. It's part of your life. And that's why you'll remember it. Here's the shift you need to make. Stop learning words. Start living them. Every word you learn should connect to your reality, your emotions. Don't just memorize it. Say, I feel nervous when I speak English. Now it's real. Now it belongs to you. This is how memory works. Not through repetition alone, but through meaningful repetition. Because when a word has emotion, your brain pays attention. And when your brain pays attention, it stores it deeper. Let's go deeper. Emotion doesn't always have to be strong. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Even simple connection is enough. Curiosity. Personal relevance. When you ask, how can I use this word in my life? You activate your brain. You make the word important. And important things, this is why some people learn hundreds of words but forget most of them. But remember them deeply. The difference is not intelligence, it's connection. So the next time you learn a word, pause. Don't rush. Ask yourself, where does this word exist in my life? How can I feel it? How can I use it today? Because learning is not about speed. It's about depth, writing on water. It disappears instantly. But a word learned with emotion is like carving into stone. It stays, and here's something powerful. When you build emotional connection with words, you don't just remember them. You start using them naturally. They come to your mind faster. They feel comfortable, and that's when real fluency begins. So stop treating words like data. Stop collecting them without meaning. Stop memorizing without feeling. Feel. Because in the end, it's not the number of words you learn that makes you fluent. It's the number of words you truly own. And you don't own a word until it becomes part of your story. Repetition is not boring, it's identity. Let's confront a belief that quietly destroys progress. Repetition is boring. You feel it when you repeat the same word again and again. Your mind says, I already know this. This is too easy. I should move to something new. New lessons, new content, but something strange happens. You keep learning more and remembering less. Here's the truth. Your brain doesn't respect what you see once. It respects what you see repeatedly. Repetition is not a waste of time. It's a signal that tells your brain this matters. Keep this. Without repetition, everything feels temporary. You recognize words but can't use them. You understand sentences but can't speak them, because recognition is not mastery, and repetition is the bridge between the two. Let's make it real. You learn a new word today. You read it once, maybe twice. You think got it. But a few days later, why? Because your brain didn't get enough exposure to trust it. It didn't become familiar. It didn't become automatic. Now imagine a different approach. You don't just see the word once, you repeat it out loud multiple times in different sentences across different days. At first, it feels repetitive, then it feels familiar. And finally, this is the transformation most people miss. Repetition doesn't just improve memory, it builds identity. At first, the word feels foreign, like something outside of you, something you're trying to remember. But with repetition, that distance disappears. The word moves from something you learned to something you use, and that's a powerful shift because once a word becomes part of your identity, you don't forget it. Think about your native language. Do you memorize those words every day? Number. You've repeated them so many times that they became automatic. That's the goal, not to remember English, but to make it automatic, and repetition is the only path. Now let's talk about shadowing, because this is where repetition becomes powerful. When you shadow, you don't just repeat a word, you repeat it in context, with emotion. You feel it again and again and again, and something starts to change. Your mouth moves more easily, your timing improves, your confidence grows, because repetition trains more than memory, trains movement. Speaking is physical. They all need practice, and repetition gives them that practice. This is why just knowing a word is not enough. You have to use it again and again until it becomes effortless. Now here's where most people quit. Right before the breakthrough, they repeat a few times. They feel bored. They stop. The word never becomes automatic, but the ones who continue, the ones who repeat even when it feels unnecessary, they reach a different level. Because they understand something deeper. Mastery is hidden inside repetition. Let's break another myth. People think learning should always feel exciting, new. But real growth, almost boring, that's a sign you're doing it right. Because the basics, repeated enough times, become powerful. So don't run from repetition. Lean into it. Repeat the same sentence today. Repeat it tomorrow. Repeat it next week, not because you have to, but because you're building something deeper. You're building fluency. You're building confidence. You're building a new version of yourself. And one day, you'll say a sentence without thinking, without translating, without hesitation, and in that moment, you'll realize something incredible. You didn't just memorize English. You became someone who speaks it. Use words before you're ready. Let's challenge one of the most common habits in language learning. I'll use this word later when I fully understand it. It sounds logical. It feels safe, but it's also the reason you forget most of what you learn. Because here's the truth, you don't master a word by understanding. You master a word by using it. Most learners live in preparation mode. They collect words. They review them again and again. But when it's time to speak, they stay silent. Why? Because your brain treats unused information as unimportant. If you don't use a word, your brain assumes, I don't need this. So it lets it go. Let's flip the process. Instead of waiting to be ready, use the word immediately, even if you're not confident. Even if it feels uncomfortable. Because usage creates memory. Think about this. You can read a word 10 times and still forget it. But use that same word in a real sentence. I gave it context. You gave it purpose. You gave it life. Let's take a simple word, improve. You can memorize it. You can write it, but until you say, I want to improve my English, it's not yours. The moment you use it, real. Stop treating words like information. Start treating them like tools. Tools are meant to be used, not stored. You don't keep a tool in a box forever. You take it out. You try it. You make mistakes. And slowly, you learn how to use it properly. Words work the same way. Now let's talk about fear, because this is where most people get stuck. You want to use new words, but you're afraid. Afraid of saying it wrong. Afraid of making mistakes. So you wait, but waiting doesn't remove fear. It strengthens it. Every time you avoid using a word, you tell your brain this is dangerous, and your brain believes you. But when you use a word, even imperfectly, you realize nothing bad happened, no one judged you. The conversation continued, and slowly, your fear loses its power. This is how confidence is built, not by being perfect, but by taking action. Let's go deeper. Forces your brain to process faster, to adapt, to find meaning in real time. And that's how fluency grows. Fluency is not about perfect sentences. It's about quick response. And you can't build that by waiting. You build it by speaking. Again and again. Now here's something important. You don't need complex sentences. Start simple. If you learn the word real usage, immediate practice, that's how words become natural. You will make mistakes. You will say things incorrectly. But that's not failure. That's progress. Every mistake teaches you something. Every attempt strengthens your memory. Every sentence brings you closer to fluency. So don't wait to be perfect. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for confidence. Use the word now. In your next sentence, because the longer you wait, the easier it is to forget. You use a word, and over time, the words you once struggled to remember, without effort, without hesitation, because they are no longer new. They are part of your voice. Stop collecting words. Stop preparing endlessly. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start using. Start speaking. Start living the language. Because in the end, that makes you fluent. It's the words you're brave enough to use. And the moment you choose to use a word before you're ready is the moment it stops being something you learned and starts becoming something you are. Slow learning creates permanent memory. Let's be honest about something most learners don't want to admit. You're not forgetting English words because you're lazy. You're forgetting them because you're rushing. You try to learn too much too fast. 10 words today, 20 words tomorrow. It feels productive, but after a few days, most of those words disappear. And then frustration begins. Why can't I remember anything? Why is my memory so weak? Why do I keep forgetting? But the problem is not your memory. The problem is your speed. Here's the truth. Fast learning creates shallow memory. Slow learning creates deep memory. When you rush through words, your brain doesn't have time to process them. It doesn't understand them fully. It doesn't connect them to anything meaningful, so the word stays on the surface, fragile. But when you slow down, everything changes. You notice the pronunciation, you understand the meaning clearly. You connect the word to your life, you repeat it with intention. And slowly, from short-term memory, this is how real learning happens. Not through speed, but through depth. Think about it like this. Would you rather learn 100 words and forget 80 of them, or learn 20 words and remember all of them? Most people choose quantity. But fluency is built on quality, are the ones you can actually use. Now let's talk about patience, because slow learning requires it. We live in a world that wants instant results, fast videos, quick tips, learn English in 7 days. But real learning doesn't work like that. Language is not a shortcut. It's a process that takes time. This is why slow listening and shadowing are so powerful. They force you to stay with the word, to hear it clearly, to repeat it naturally, to understand it deeply, instead of rushing forward. And in that presence, when you slow down, you reduce pressure. You stop trying to be perfect. You stop trying to remember everything at once. One sentence, one moment, and that focus creates clarity, creates confidence. Everything is connected. Now imagine this. Instead of rushing through 50 words, take 5 words. You listen to them slowly. You repeat them multiple times. You use them in your own sentences. You come back to them the next day. At the end of the week, those 5 words are not just remembered. They are part of you. And over time, those small, deep steps, because slow learning is not slow in results. It's slow in process, powerful in outcome. Let's break another myth. People think if I go slow, I'll never become fluent, but the opposite is true. You keep forgetting. You keep feeling stuck. But if you go slow, you build a strong foundation. A strong speed comes naturally, without force, without confusion. That's the difference. So stop measuring your progress by how much you learn. Start measuring it by how much you retain. Because what you remember can use. Fluent, slow learning is not a weakness, a strategy, a powerful one. It means you're not just learning English, you're building it inside you, word by word. And one day, you'll realize something incredible. You're not forgetting words anymore, not because you tried harder, but because you learned smarter, so slow down. Take your time, because the words you learn slowly are the ones that stay forever. It's not about how fast you learn English, it's about how deeply it becomes a part of you.